All right, so we have that pocket of understanding of, since this happened, I can't go into the conscious self, so I'm not even gonna try. And when I go to sleep, I don't have any dreams. When I wake up, it's true that because I didn't do anything all day yesterday and I feel low vibration about it, then that means it translates over to me not being able to have a dream or going to my conscious self. Well, here's the thing. If that were true, then we would never be able to go into our conscious selves because we would always feel down about something within life. And we would never have dreams past what we see. So, before you became spiritual or going to your spiritual path to gain knowledge, you had dreams before. And you didn't know anything about any of this, about negative energy, positive energy. You just lived life and you had dreams. Sometimes you remember, sometimes you didn't. You didn't think of it like that. But now that you're spiritual and you're trying to get into the dream space, now it's like, oh, I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't do that because it's not gonna put me in the right state of mind to go into my conscious self when I go to sleep. But what if that is a mental concept that blocks us from getting to where we're going? Hear me out. What if that was set in place by beings long ago to write that down for it to be false, to were to be false in the most highest self-conscious reality, but for it to play out true in the lowest self-dream of the root reality. So that way, people that will go to sleep with low vibrations would not wake up in the other world. Because if people with low vibrations woke up in the other world in mass, the other world would be in disarray, right? Because when they could do anything they wanted to, because they don't see any karmic retribution happening if they kill people on the astral plane. You see what I'm saying? So, what if the thinking process of not doing these things will not doing these things will prevent you from going into the conscious mind or the conscious self when you go into your dream world. I'm saying that because of this. Now, if you've gotten this far in my recordings and you're listening, most likely you've experienced something like this. Maybe you don't know how to explain it, but if I explain it and it makes sense, then okay. So sometimes when you're talking to the people in your dreams, right? Sometimes you think you're talking to yourself, but then there's other times where it's like I'm not talking to myself. I'm talking to someone else. Like I'm talking to another being. And I'm talking to another being because they're not acting. You can tell there's a disconnect. Like, for instance, when you're talking to yourself in the dream and you're communicating with yourself, the communication is fluid. The communication is known. But when you talk to another being and you're communicating with another being, the communication is not known. You actually have to talk to them, whether it's opening your mouth or telepathically communicating with them. But you can't read their energy necessarily. But when you're talking to yourself in your dream, you could read your own energies. You can read your own your own mental constructs make sense. But when you're in a certain type of dream space, you can't go through walls. You can't do certain things. You can't think a certain way. It's almost like there's a mental block on you. Now, this mental block could be the old beings from from ancient times preventing you from going into complete conscious state in your dreams because of they're afraid of what you might do. Or it could be your own consciousness preventing you from doing that because you haven't understood or gained an experience of somehow to unlock that part of you. But then we'll go to a point to where in other situations you were able to do other things, but in this way situation in the dream space you're not. Why is that? Why is it in one situation you're able to do something, but in another situation you're not? And I believe that it's because not all dream space is the same space. Sometimes the dream space that we actually go into could be of our own making, and when it is, you realize it. But sometimes it's not our own making. Sometimes it's someone else's dream space, or it's another plane that's disconnected from our self dream or our root sense of dream space. And that root sense of dream space is what makes things feel possible when in the waking world it isn't. But sometimes in some dream spaces, you can't fly, you can't do things. It's like it's cut off from you, and we have to ask ourselves, why is it cut off from us? And a few of the understandings that I'm going through in my mind and trying to test out is one, you haven't unlocked that part of you fully to experience it and to control it, and your mind principles aren't adept enough to understand the situation that you're in the dream space. Two, you're in someone else's dreams, or you're in someone else's dream space, and in their world you don't have those powers because in that world it goes by their rules. Or third, you're in an environment that's closed off in the mental space, and you're being observed by beings outside of that space, and they're looking into that space observing what you do. Now all three of those sound pretty far out, but the third one, I feel very strongly about it because I believe that that is what's happening. I believe there are beings that watch us all the time. And sometimes I don't act like they're watching me, but deep down I know they're watching me. Especially when I go into the dream space. Because in the dream space, it's almost like they're testing me. But sometimes in the dream space, my mind is blocked off from the test. So I'll be sleeping. I'll wake up in my sleep. I'll wake up in the dream space. I'll wake up in my conscious self, but part of my mind is there, but it's like an invisible veil. I can look into it, but I can't obtain, or I can't grasp, or I can't. It's separated from my conscious mind, but I can still see it there. It's like you have a word in your mind, you don't know what that word is, but like you see it, but you can't say it. But you know what it is, but you can't say what it is. And like sometimes in the dream space that happens to me. And sometimes I break out of the degree of the conscious self that I'm in. I break out just a degree above it, and I realize like, hey, something's not right. And as soon as I do that, the beings around me are surprised. Now, about going to three aspects. Are they surprised that I broke out of my self-conscious restraints and was able to see something was off? Are they surprised I was able to do that? Are they surprised that I was able to perceive myself doing that? Or are they surprised that I was able to even come up with that attempt to try to do that? All of them seem like the same. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that in some dream spaces, when you start asking questions, you don't get answers, which is a very strange thing because you would think that your dream space is there to give you answers, right? But sometimes it's like the beings in your dreams don't want to answer you, and they're just there to play around with you. They're just there to like, it's like they're kids. It's like they're kids in that space. So they have time to like play around with you and like pretend or whatever. Like it's like they're playing imaginary friend, right? But then when the imaginary friend starts becoming real, They're like, okay, I can't talk to him anymore. I gotta go somewhere else. And I say it like that, and it actually sound really, really true based on the experience I'm thinking about at this particular moment. So then you start having dreams in the conscious self to where you're awake and you're lucid, but there's a fog, a haze that's over you, over your mind, and it's making you do things out of your root consciousness. But you know, in your higher consciousness, if you used to unlock it, you wouldn't be doing that. But in your root consciousness, you play out this thing, and within the will, within your dream space will, you're fighting it like, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? And sometimes you break out of it, and sometimes you don't. I say that to say, what if in the third degree that the beings are watching, and what if they do have enough power to cut off parts of your conscious energy to isolate a situation or isolate thoughts or ideas or concepts or emotions and run you through a simulation or run you through a dream space where that energy plays out to see how you react. One, maybe they do that to, I don't know, just to see what it would do. A scientist, like, they don't know. They're trying to understand it. Two, they're trying to see your understanding of it and how you're going to play out. For what reason? Unknown. Or third, they're trying to understand what you're doing and how you're doing and how you're thinking and your thought process behind it to see if you have the understanding it takes to unlock that part of your mind in multiple dreamscapes. Okay, now you're probably thinking at this time, why the fuck is he saying all of this? I'm saying all of this because when you're in the self of society, right? When you're in the root chakra of yourself and you only think about yourself, you can only experience what you know, right? Well, when you start thinking of different societies and how they correlate with each other, are you still thinking about yourself at that point? Like, with all that knowledge, are you still thinking about yourself? And the answer is yes, yeah, you're thinking about yourself. But you're thinking about yourself from so many different filters to where yourself is almost irrelevant. And it's almost like, yeah, I have my own thoughts and things, but other people have their own thoughts and things, and we shouldn't infringe upon them. We shouldn't overtake them. Or maybe we should. It depends on how you're thinking about it, right? Well, on the opposite side, where you have in your self dream, you think this dream is just a dream. Like, it doesn't mean anything. Until you get to the conscious mind, you realize this dream means something, and it's its own space and time. So it has its own reality to it. Now, the reason why I put these two on separately was because of this, my next part of my theory. What if there are groups of beings that watch over the human race? And every now and then, during certain times, they go to people in their dreams, kind of like angels. Let's say they're angels, right? They go to people in their dreams and they test them to see if they're ready for consciousness evolution. Let's just say that, right? Well, with that, let's say there's another type of group, and that type of group is a more of a not so friendly group. Let's call them demons. And these demons do the same thing and look the same way, and you can't tell them apart in the dream space. But they put you through situations to see what you're going to do, to see if they could use your energy. Because if you do good things and you have high vibrational energy, not everybody can process or harness that energy, right? Just like if you go and fight a dude and you're more powerful than him, he can't harness your energy because you're more powerful than him. So if a being is in the conscious space and they don't have a body and they're building their energy, well, One way to build energy is to siphon energy from something else. Another way to get energy is to produce the energy yourself. But to produce the energy yourself in abundance, you have to have a certain type of vibration. Not every being has the same vibration for different reasons because of the self root chakra. The self root chakra is going to depend on what type of vibration that you receive. No matter what chakra you're in, the root vibration is what the root vibration is. If you can get the root vibration to the highest level, then all your other chakras automatically go up in degrees. So if your root chakra level is at a 99, let's say if your root chakra level is at a 50, and then your sacral, your sacral is at a 25. Well, when the root chakra goes to 99, the sacral is going to go to 50. It's automatically going to push up because of the lens you're looking at yourself through. Is now you're looking at it through family and community. Now you're looking at your self dream that's just a dream. Now you're having a lucid part of yourself being awakened in the dream. Now you're seeing things differently, so you have a more understanding. That more understanding plays out into the world, Malakuth, into the third dimension from the kingdom through your root chakra. Your root chakra grounds you to this world, but it also grounds you, it's also the reflection to the other world. Just like the crown chakra reflects into this world, but it also reflects into the other world through different degrees and through all these other things. Now, with that said, what if these beings, whether they're angelic or demonic, whether they're good or bad, what if these beings exist and they're constantly testing us to see where we are? What does that mean? What does that mean that these beings are doing this? Why are they doing this? Is it part of human evolution? Is this natural? Or is this all in our minds and is not real at all? And it's just playing out that way because we're breaking our own conscious mind. We're breaking it. We're breaking a degree above it, and we're able to question it now. We're able to question our beliefs. We're able to question our spirituality. Something's not right. What's going on? And in breaking that, we can't fill that empty space with just anything, with just nothing. So we fill it with something to make it be like, okay, well, it's these beings that are trying to control us, or it's these beings that are trying to help us evolve, or it's both, or it's neither. We have to fill it with something that our root chakra can understand, that our base mentality, that our base consciousness can understand for it to make sense, until we experience that at higher levels, until we go into society's understanding of societies, until we go into our conscious self, into our crown chakra, and able to experience the lower understandings from a higher standing point, and then wake back up within our self dream root chakra, and then bring that to the waking world and think about it and ponder it in this world to understand what is it really.